Get ready for The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's dedicated update show. Events, businesses, and people. Anything and anyone causing a ripple in the community. And now, let's dive in to The Splash Live.
Good morning and welcome to The Splash Live. Dave Scott in our Civic Center TV studios today as we are getting ready for a monumental storm to come into our area. That and a whole lot more coming up this morning on The Splash Live. Welcome to our program. We are here each and every Monday through Friday morning for an hour and a half of live and local television. We hope you tune in. It starts with The Splash Live at 9:30. I'm here until 10 o'clock today. Tyler Keefe will step in at 10 and he'll have a whole another hour of interviews and information from all over Metro Detroit and Michigan. The Splash Live, very West Bloomfield for you each and every morning. Easy to watch our show and all of our program. You can find us programming. You can find us on Civic Center TV, channel 15. AT&T subscribers, you'll find us on channel 99. Easiest way, though, to watch any of our programming is to go to civiccentertv.com, hit the Watch Live link, and then you'll also have the advantage and benefit of all the other programs and services we have going and direct links to all of our archives. You can also watch us live streaming on social media this morning on Facebook and also on YouTube. And 89.3 Lakes FM. We did some work at the transmitter. We had a little problem. There were wires dangling all over the tower at fire station number 1. A really brave guy climbed up the tower yesterday and fixed them all up, put a bunch of tie wraps on there. So we're back in business on 89.3 FM. And that's really good to know because we are going into what I consider a weather emergency. Let's take a look at our weather around the greater West Bloomfield area. It starts out pretty good. I mean, right now you walk outside and you say, well, are you kidding? A big storm coming? It's 36 degrees and we might even have a little poke of sunshine today. But here's what's going to happen. Get anything done you need to get done now because by later in this afternoon and into this evening, it's going to start to rain. And then at some point this evening into the early morning hours, a cold front's going to come through with a ton of wind and the temperature's going to almost instantly drop to 10, 11 degrees from the 30s. So any water that's laying around in your driveway or on the roads is going to freeze right up. And then we hope all that is going to change into snow tonight. Then the winds come. So when you wake up tomorrow, we could have near blizzard conditions. They are expecting wind gusts tomorrow upwards of 50 miles an hour. So be prepared. Get some groceries. Make sure you get some batteries and everything, and then keep 89.3 FM on your radio dial. We'll announce anything. If everyone's power goes out, we'll be there with any important messaging for you. So the one thing that all of the experts are advising is please do not plan any travel on Friday. Now, we may not get a ton of snow, but 50-mile-an-hour winds, possible freezing conditions. Make sure that you are being very judicious about any driving you need to do. Stay at home on Friday. Stay at home on Saturday as well. This will all clear out. We'll shovel a little bit of snow and everything will be just fine. Congratulations this morning to 3 amazing West Bloomfield High School students. First of all, Samaj Morgan, graduating wide receiver of West Bloomfield High School, is committed to the University of Michigan. And in fact, my friends tell me he is already enrolled. Left West Bloomfield. He's already up in Ann Arbor getting a jump start on his career there. Amir Herring, also West Bloomfield High School graduate, joins the University of Michigan football team. And congratulations to Lorenzo Williams, who will be going to Western Michigan University, all part of the National Signing Day yesterday. 3 of our great West Bloomfield football players going on to bigger and better things. We wish you all the very best of luck. So clearly a very sad couple of days here in West Bloomfield as we lost one of our most amazing leaders in our community, Pastor Jack Freed. A couple of years ago, Jack Freed was the person of the week. And we were doing a feature when Jonathan Jackson was hosting this show. Let's take a look at that clip from just a few years back when Pastor Jack Freed was our person of the week.
Jack Freed is not only a staple within the West Bloomfield community, but he's been living here for nearly 5 decades. As a minister, Jack studied for 8 years and majored in philosophy at Augustana College, spending 4 years in seminary. He then became a pastor at churches in Wisconsin and Illinois before establishing a new congregation in West Bloomfield. Jack arrived here with his family in 1969 and began his journey with the help of local community leaders to build the first congregation at Holy Spirit Lutheran Church. Since then, Jack's involvement in the community has spread far beyond his own congregation. He's an original member of the Greater West Bloomfield Michigan Week Planning Committee, a co-founder of the West Bloomfield Optimist Club, former chaplain for both West Bloomfield's police and fire department, and continues to be seen as a figure of great wisdom and guidance within the township, which obviously makes him our person of the week.
He's the person of the week forever here in West Bloomfield. Nice job, Jonathan Jackson, on that. Joining us now is somebody who knew Jack Freed very well, Jeff Lieb, who was the founding president of the West Bloomfield Optimist Club and a very good friend of Pastor Freed. I know with heavy heart we welcome you to the Splash Live. Good to see you this morning, sir.
Thank you, Dave.
So, your thoughts when you heard this sad news, Jeff Lieb?
Well, I focused on the word loss when you said that we lost Jack Freed. He'll never be lost because his memory will live in all of us that had the pleasure of knowing him. He was an honorable man, and all of our collective memories of him will always be for a blessing. And so he will live on in our life, in our memories forever.
You know, the number of people that I've talked to over the last 24 hours who have said things to me that really had impact about the life of Pastor Jack Freed, they all seem to say that Jack would call them. Pastor Freed would call them. They didn't need to pick up the phone. He would check in on them and make sure that things are going well in their world. And, you know, this is from the leaders of our community. I assume that those stories don't surprise you.
Not at all. Not at all. He was an outreaching type of person. He was a motivator. He, as you probably know, and most of the people listening here will know, that he wrote winning words for over 20 years, 5 days a week, 4:59 a.m. My computer would show a winning word message that he composed, and they were always motivational and inspirational. It was a beautiful way to start the day. I shared it with my children many times and other friends.
And I think he's leaving us a great legacy in that blog. It's all there. We've got a link to it off of civiccentertv.com. You can go to our website, and if you're not familiar with the email, all of those blog posts are posted there. In fact, here's a QR code put up on the screen. You can scan that and go to Jack's winning words. And you know, Jeff, as I believe, I just looked in the other day, he was publishing those right up to the day that he passed.
Yes. And I have them all saved in my computer. I don't have to go to your Civic Center site to find them. I can just go back into my computer. I've got them all saved for all these years.
Let's take a look back at the days when the Optimist Club was born here in West Bloomfield. You were there. Pastor Freed was there. You got a story. Can you tell us a little bit about his involvement and how this all came to be?
Sure. I met Jack when we began meeting at the, it was a pancake house on Maple and Orchard Lake Road on where Tim Hortons is now. And we began organizing. The Birmingham Optimist Club was helping to found us. And we started meeting in the fall of 1971. And we slowly built up 30 or 40 original members. And by the first part of 1972, we were given our charter. And Jack was right there with me and the others. And we were started as a club. And Jack and I hardly ever missed a meeting for 50 years. When we were in town, we were always at our meeting. And unfortunately, COVID interrupted the ability to meet in person. But we met for 40 years, 7:30 Tuesday mornings at the Stage Restaurant. We had a couple of other places that we met, but the last restaurant where we met in person was the stage. Now we're meeting at the Soul Cafe.
Well, we're going to hear more about that
Good.
when we talk to some other folks, including Robert Brooks later on this morning, who had breakfast with him every Saturday.
Yeah.
You were also there, and so was Pastor Freed at the very beginning of the Michigan Week, the annual Michigan Week celebration, and it was so great to have you there last year for our 50th anniversary and participate in the way you did. Thank you very much. But that is an amazing event where we honor volunteerism in West Bloomfield, and again, there you two were helping to establish something that has become an institution in our community.
Thank you. It was an honor to be there. And that first year in 1972, Jack and I were both named Minutemen Award winners from the state of Michigan, which I don't remember how many Minutemen Award winners there were, but he and I were right there, and we'd just been friends for so long. That's why I say he left a legacy of memories that will live forever in my mind.
And Jeff Lieb, if all of that history and resume isn't enough, you both were very good friends of my mother, Agnes Scott, too, which
Yes,
gives me a warm spot in my heart. When I think of that generation and what she and her peers and you and Jack and Pastor Freed and all the others did for our community, and just how vital community service was to them. It sets a great example, and it motivates me to get up every morning and do the very best I can to carry on that legacy.
Your mom invited us as optimists to come down and spend time at the oh, lost for a thought. She ran the Channel 56 auction.
Sure. So
The
you were
au-
yeah, so you both came to the
she
auction?
Oh yeah, she
Oh my
recruited
goodness.
us, and she recruited us and all the members of the Optimist Club to come down and work on the auction.
Yeah, that was a wonderful gesture on your part.
Another great memory.
We'll continue this conversation on another day. Thank you very much for joining us. Good to be with you, and you seem like you're doing great. You're in Florida this morning, and you're going to miss this terrible storm that we're going to have. But thank you for being with us this morning and sharing your thoughts this morning on the Splash Live.
Thank you, Dave. To all your listeners, a wonderful Christmas holiday and happy and healthy New Year.
Jeff Lee, thank you very much for joining us. Rather than go to break, because I think we're running a little bit behind, we're just going to continue. Joining us now, thanks again, sir. Joining us now, can we do that or do we need to go to break? Okay, we're going to take a quick break, the engineers tell me. We'll be back in just a moment. The Splash Live continues with more people from our community as we discuss the life of Pastor Jack Freed. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live. What's happening around you? Hear about state events, businesses, and from the people behind them on The MegaCast, an hour-long TV, radio, and streaming show keeping you informed on the day-to-day news. Listen in on talks with volunteer groups, documentarians, and financial advisors, Monday to Friday with your host, Tyler Kieft. Catch The MegaCast weekdays from 10 a.m. to 11 on Civic Center TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and streaming on MyMyTV.com. And now, back to the Splash Live.
Good morning and welcome back to the Splash Live. Dave Scott here on Civic Center TV and the Splash Live. We're going to check in with Steve Kaplan, West Bloomfield Township Supervisor, in just a second. Again, though, just a quick warning. We have a very serious weather pattern moving into the West Bloomfield area. We have a winter weather advisory. Actually, it's a winter storm warning now that I see it on my screen. So make sure that you get everything done. You get it done now, and then by this evening, you're going to want to hunker down and not really go anywhere on Friday. We'll review all the weather for you in a minute. Joining us now, he is our West Bloomfield Township Okay, we're going to actually jump ahead and check in with Robert Brooks. He joins us now here on the Splash Live. Mr. Brooks is a good friend of Jack Freed, as so many of us are here in West Bloomfield, and also is the chairperson of the West Bloomfield Parks and Recreation Commission. Mr. Brooks, good morning and welcome to the Splash Live.
Good morning, Dave. It's so good to see you this morning, and
Well,
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Good to be with you. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy day today to share a couple of thoughts and words about Pastor Jack Freed. And you know, you had the opportunity. You are such a lucky man because you had the opportunity, as Jeff Lee was mentioning a couple of moments ago, to sit down and have breakfast with Jack and some other folks every Saturday morning. Tell us all about it.
Yes, Jack was really a special friend. And in that, Jack invited me around about 2012, maybe 10 years ago, to have breakfast with him and another good friend, Paul Lipson. And Paul, and Jack, and myself became known as the Three Amigos gathering for breakfast at Sonny's on Saturday mornings. It used to be at 7:30 until after the pandemic. We went to 8 o'clock when they opened. And what was really interesting about this is Jack always liked the booth in the very back, and he liked to sit on that back seat where he could get a view of everything that was going on. Jack was that kind of guy who wanted to see what was going on, reflect on it, and give you wisdom. And in those moments on each of those Saturdays, we got together and just discussed whatever was on our minds, but it tended to focus on community, on family, and on friendships. And Jack was a connector. He connected people one to another. He loved with all his heart people and their interactions. And he always looked for possibilities. And that's why he was such a special friend to me, is because possibilities in this world are something we can't have enough of. And Jack Freed, in all of his 95 years, I'm sure looked for that in every day of his life.
Well, I think we have a picture. The guys are busy in the other room making all this work, but I think somewhere we have a picture of your breakfast get together. We'll get to that in a minute. As soon here we go. Let's take a look. There you are with you and Mr. Lipson, and then of course Jack over there on the right hand side, and of course Mr. Lipson. Many of the people in our community know as the principal at Roosevelt Elementary in Keagle Harbor for several years, and there the three of you are having your Saturday morning breakfast. What a great picture. Thanks for sending that. But I really like what you said because, you know, the years do wear on us physically, and you can even see Jack's walker right there. You know, even with his aging years and the impact that had on him physically, he still gets up and has breakfast with you early on Saturday morning and still every day put together his winning words, which was emailed to many and is on the internet. It was an inspiration to so many people in our community.
Yes, actually, Dave, I woke up this morning and yesterday was his final winning word that was put out by his son, David. And at 5 a.m., they would always be in my email box. And this morning, I really missed that from my friend, his winning words. And he was special with it because he had a way of bringing quotes that he had found and bringing them to life in today. And although one might think that as we age, we don't keep up with the times, but Jack was a progressive of sorts. He kept up with whatever was going on. He tried to keep his eye and pulse on things as wild as emojis and things that people were doing and saying to him in his blog. And he would, as I've heard people say, and I didn't engage in his blog much, but people would say that they would say something in his blog and he'd answer it by the end of the day. So Jack was just thrilled that people would engage with him on his winning words on a daily basis.
Yeah, I've heard that from a number of people, how engaged he was and, you know, how computer literate he was, too, doing all those other things that you mentioned. One of the other areas that he was certainly a leader and had a lot of vision as to where our community was going was he was somebody that was concerned and thinking about diversity before anybody else was talking about it. Could you share your thoughts on that?
So let me share a story. Uh, Jack was very concerned about diversity and sharing into the metropolitan setting. And with that said, he asked me to drive him in recent years down to the city of Detroit and near 8 Mile, and I think it's near between Wyoming and Livernois, was a redlining zone where there's a wall that separated people with redlining back in the 50s. And Jack wanted to see that with his own eyes and understand it. He did so much research on it to know about it, to understand it. He reached out to people no matter where they were and talked to people to understand different perspectives. Diversity is one of those things where, you have to be part of the community. You have to be part of the conversation. You have to be invited in. And Jack was an inviting person. And, as you looked at us at breakfast, you probably, from some perspectives, people think, here's a guy who's 60, 75, and 95, right? You know, I often thought of Jack as Father Wisdom because here he had these two younger guys, one 20 years and one 30 years younger than him, and he's imparting wisdom about the things that he's seen in his life and how he still wants the world to change and become one where all people can be included. And that's what was special about Jack Free.
Robert Brooks, thank you very much for your words this morning. Very good to be with you. We are all going to be smiling and telling these great stories with a heavy heart. But certainly, the stories that we're hearing are making me feel better and helping all of us understand the joy that this unbelievable person brought to our community and will for a long, long time. We'll keep in touch. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us this
Again,
morning.
thank you for having me, Dave. And just as a closing note, Paul Lipson and myself gathered this morning at Sonny's just to reminisce about our times together with Jack since they're closed on tomorrow. And it was just a fun time. So again, thank you for having me and look forward to sharing with this community the wonderful legacy of Jack Freed.
Well, thank you for that. And I'll tell you what, and maybe you'll take me up on this opportunity. I would love to buy you two breakfast and bring along our cameras, and we'll just do a half an hour live show from the restaurant there, and I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, we'll work on setting that one up.
Let's wait till his wife Joan comes back into town, and we can do it together.
I'll
get it set up. I'll take you up on it, Dave.
All right, sounds like a great invitation. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your words. Best to you today.
Thank you.
So let's shift gears here now and hear from one more leader in our community. And we are delighted to be joined now by the supervisor of West Bloomfield Township. And that is none other than our good friend Steve Kaplan, who checks in from his office this morning. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the Splash Live.
Nice to see you as always, Dave.
Thank you very much for being with us today. And we only have a couple of moments here, but I definitely wanted to hear from you. I know you and Pastor Freed had a very close relationship. Your thoughts on his passing?
Sure. Well, he's irreplaceable. And we hear oftentimes when somebody passes away about how wonderful that individual was and how he can't be replaced. But in this case, it's true. Jack Freed was universally respected and beloved in the West Bloomfield community. If I just may share a few insights that I have of Jack.
Please.
Dave, I met Jack in 1979. I was hired by a circuit court judge while I was in law school to be that judge's law clerk. And he and Pastor Freed were close friends, and Pastor Freed officiated at the investiture. 6 years later, I met a nice lady named Lisa Weingarten, who's now Lisa Kaplan. And my future wife and her family lived across the street from Pastor Freed and his family, so I would see them periodically. And then when I was elected to the township board in 2000 as a trustee, I saw Jack many times. But I remember specifically in 2011, Dave, the township board at that time, there were fractions, there was divisiveness, and it wasn't good for the community. And Jack called me one day. He said, "Can you stop by my house, Steve?" And I said, "Sure." I visited him, and he said to me, "We don't need to air dirty laundry. You need to do something to help with the board. The board can't be fighting in public." But that just shows when he spoke, he was like the E.F. Hutton of of ministers, because when Jack Freed spoke, people listened.
Well, it also, Steve Kaplan, tells you how engaged he was in every aspect of the community and how much he deeply cared. I mean, these days, political infighting, that's just standard business. But he knew that we were all better than that. And I appreciate you sharing that story with us.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Joining us, of course, is West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Steve Kaplan, and he played a very important role to our township as well as the chaplain of the fire department and the police department. And so in those roles, he had an opportunity to have a lot of impact on our first responders and everyone around them. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, sure. The chaplain's an important figure in communities because, unfortunately, from time to time, death notifications are needed, or somebody in the police department or fire department may be ill. But Pastor Jack Freed, he was the idyllic person to serve in that role, just very compassionate and wise and empathetic. We will miss him. Also, you might know, Dave, Pastor Freed served for at least 9 years on the West Bloomfield Township Planning Commission. Very important role. Even more so when Jack served, because the township was still being developed. Now we're 98% developed.
Well, it's always important to be on one of these boards, but you make a great point. He left his stamp then in a large way on the way the township was planned, physically with its infrastructure and what got built where. But, I think also the stamp that he left on us from everyone else that I've heard from and from my interactions over the past couple of days has just been the leadership that he provided. So every once in a while you run into people who provide quiet one-on-one leadership to people like you and other people in key roles. And in doing so, they can have a tremendous positive impact on so many.
Right. He certainly exemplified that. Oh, and then one time we were at a meeting, I think it was an Optimist meeting, and an individual was introduced, maybe to be a future member, and he was introduced to Pastor Freed. And this gentleman said, "Hello, Pastor Freed." And Pastor Freed responded, "Call me Jack." So he was not a person who rested on ceremony. And I think that really epitomizes Jack Freed.
Well, I appreciate you taking a minute with us. We've got about 30 seconds left. Anything else you want to add before we close out, Steve Kaplan?
You've discovered that he was just universally respected. We certainly will miss him. And here at Town Hall, Dave, we prepared a proclamation in his honor and memory, which will be presented to his family at the board meeting on January 23rd. That's a Monday at 6 o'clock. And also our flags are at half staff here at Town Hall in memory and honor of Jack Freed.
Well, that is a beautiful thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And we will be there on the 23rd. And thank you for recognizing him with the flags at half staff. Well done. Thank you very much, Steve Kaplan, our West Bloomfield Township Supervisor. Thank you for joining us on short notice during the holiday season. I appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Well, that's going to be it for this morning. We will continue this coverage. You can't do this in a half an hour. So thank you for tuning in. Have a great holiday. Be safe. There's a lot of weather coming. Take it easy out there. We'll see you soon right here on Civic Center TV on The Splash Live.